Good morning. Welcome to our daily devotion. It is Saturday, May 15th. Can you believe this month half over? Wow. Does everybody know what tomorrow is? Whew. Sunday, May 16th at 5 p.m. We meet for pizza and drinks. At 6 p.m. we start our first service at Collision in 14 months. Whew. Can't wait. Good morning, Mary. Can't wait. I hope you guys are all planning on being there. Mary, I'm sure you and Parnell are hopping on a plane now to get here. You're lucky you have a great church that you guys have back there. We're in Matthew chapter 21. I'm going to be reading verses 23 through 27. Jesus was constantly questioned by the religious leaders of that time. And this is another story of this. It says, Jesus entered the temple courts, and while he was teaching, the chief priests and elders of the people came to him. By what authority are you doing these things, they asked, and who gave you this authority? Jesus replied, I will also ask you one question. If you answer me, I will tell you by what authority I am doing these things. John's baptism, where did it come from? Was it from heaven or from men? Morning, John. Morning, Marcy. They discussed it among themselves and said, if we say from heaven, he will say, then why didn't you believe him? But if we say from men, we are afraid of the people, for they all hold that John was a prophet. So they answered Jesus, we don't know. Then he said, neither will I tell you by what authority I am doing these things. This is what I want to talk about here, okay? Jesus wasn't about to listen to advice from these religious leaders that he did not respect. There's a saying, don't take advice from anyone that you wouldn't go to for advice. People are constantly trying to give you advice, trying to tell you what to do. If you wouldn't go to them for advice, then don't listen to their advice. As a pastor, I constantly have people giving me advice. Constantly have. When things happen, they all have a plan. And so I have to be careful who I listen to. Some I respect and definitely listen to them. Others I don't respect as much, and so I take what they say with a grain of salt. There's been many times that I'm glad that I took the advice. Let me give you an example here. When we were shut down and then we were looking for a place to meet, and so I was checking with the ABC school district again, trying to figure out where we could meet. And then I was talking to OJ, and OJ said, well, have you ever considered renting from a church? And I said, well, yeah. I said, but that don't work because they all have their services and they just give us the times that they don't want. He said, well, have you ever considered doing an evening service? And I just kind of brushed it off. And then I started thinking about it. And it led to where we are now, to where that's exactly what we're going to do. If I would have not taken that advice, we still wouldn't be meeting. I'd still be looking for a place that we could rent, and that's still far ways away, where schools are going to allow us to go back in. Even Arnold Park, where we met with the youth, they're not renting space out yet. So we wouldn't have been meeting tomorrow if I hadn't taken his advice. And even though I didn't grab a hold of that advice right away, it was like wisdom from God, because as I started thinking about it, naturally it led to where we're going now. And then I had someone that I respected gave me some advice one time when the youth group was kind of falling apart. There wasn't very many people coming, and someone said, maybe we should just shut it down, just not have a youth group anymore. And I was sort of thinking, wow, should I do that or should I not do that? Well, imagine if I'd have done that, we wouldn't have Impact and Crash today. So I constantly have to listen to people's advice. I constantly have to weigh advice. And that's something you have to do too. You have to weigh the advice of the person that's given it to you, their knowledge, their experience, their faith, how strong they are in their faith. probably not a good idea to listen to someone about raising children from someone that doesn't have children. And you know that there's people that give advice about raising children. I hear that all the time. And when there's children acted up and someone doesn't have children, they'll say something like, "Boy, if that was my kids, I'd sure put them in line." Like, like you're not being a very good parent. If I was the parent, boy, I'll tell you, my kids wouldn't be acting like that until they have kids and find out that they have just as big a problem as anybody else. Good morning, Christina. Uh, I This is not a knock on my son, but my son was in charge of our office here in California, and he was married but didn't have any children yet. And then we had people that were working for us that had children, and he was a stickler about coming in late. He even got a clock where he had to punch in. Now it's good to be organized like that, but if someone came in late and they said, "Well, I had to take my son to school," he just thought that was just ridiculous until he had children. Then all of a sudden, he's having to take his kid to school. He's having to take his kid to a doctor appointment. And then he realized what it's like. So most times we have to experience things in our lives before we're knowledgeable enough to give out wisdom to people. However, all of you should have people in your life that you respect, that you can go to for advice. There's times in our life when we all need that. Who would you go to? Who would you go to right now if that's something serious that happened in your life? Who would you go to for advice? There's a family right now that I know that's their son has got serious health issues, very serious health issues. They have to take advice now from doctors. Hopefully you have a doctor too that you can go to, that you're connected with, that you have a relationship with, that you can go to for advice when major health issues happen. We all need that. A lot of times when something happens in our life and you need an attorney, they're asking somebody, do you know a good attorney? Do you know a good attorney? Or your car breaks down, do you know a good mechanic? Do you know a good mechanic? We're all looking for people that we can trust, that a mechanic that we can trust that won't take advantage of us when they fix our vehicle. An attorney that we can go to for whatever reason that will take our case seriously and will answer our phone calls, etc., etc. Well, we all need advice in our Christian lives. And who would you go to? Who would you go to for that advice in your life? We all need that. I go to people in Collision. I go to the people in my church that I respect. That's who I go to for advice. That's what's so great about belonging to a church. I know them. I know how strong their faith is. I know what their Christian lives are like. I know what their marriage relationship is like. I know what their children are like. I wouldn't go to someone for advice on children from someone whose children were running wild and crazy. That's why it says in Scripture here that an elder must have their children in order, their family in order. They must have children that respect them, because an elder is an overseer. They lead people in the church. You can't. Nobody's going to come to you for advice if you don't have your family in order. So I hope that you all have someone in your life that you can go to when you need that critical Christian advice. And every one of us need that at times in our life, even simple ones. Like we have a cross that we always used at Palms Elementary. And they have a cross at the church there that we'd have to move. And I thought, gosh, should we just use their cross or should we use our cross that everybody recognizes? And I wasn't sure. So I texted Mike Jones to get his advice. What do you think? Should we haul our big cross to the church and store it there somewhere so we have it? Something as simple as that. I could have just made that decision on my own, but I thought, I want to ask somebody else to get their advice also. We're ordering pizzas for this Sunday tomorrow, and Tressa's going to be picking the pizzas up for us at 2 different times so they stay warm. So I asked her, "Do you think this is the right amount of pizzas that we should order?" We all need simple advice, but then there's times in our life where we need major advice, and I'm hoping that you have those kind of people in your life that you can go to. And maybe it's someone in your church. Dandy right now saying yes. Yeah, I've had the privilege of giving you some advice at different times, Dandy. I've had that same thing with other people in the church. So that's why it's so important to belong to a church. You have people then that you respect for their faith that you can go to for advice. Well, hope you gained something from this message. This is the last one before we meet tomorrow. I won't see you again until Monday morning at 8 o'clock. I'm hoping that all of you plan on being there tomorrow, those of you in this area. I hope that you can come and support us we're not asking for those of you to go to other churches. We're not asking you to leave your church by any means. But if you can come tomorrow night, you can go to your church in the morning and come tomorrow night and help us celebrate our first time together again. Remember, we'll have pizza from 5 to 6 for fellowship, and then we're going to start exactly at 6 o'clock. And actually, worship is going to start about 10 minutes before 6, so that as people are walking in, we're already worshiping. So join us if you can, will you? God bless you all. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, and I hope to see many of you tomorrow. If not, I'll see you Monday morning at 8 o'clock. Have a great weekend. Bye, y'all.